Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this roundtable by ET Retail and Vicens. The topic of our discussion today is Power of Discovery. I'm Pallavi Goyal and I'm a business journalist with ET Retail, and I'm going to be moderating this session here. To set some context for our conversation first, when we track the entire fashion retail and online commerce space, the entire landscape has evolved a lot, especially with retailers being challenged constantly to meet the evolving needs of the customers, leading to innovation and technology. In this roundtable today, we will try to discuss some of the key aspects of the evolving fashion retail landscape. As the industry is moving omni-channel, it becomes important to ask the questions on how the customer is discovering products, how the customer is discovering brands, how are they interacting with brands, how are they leveraging social media, how are brands leveraging social media, and of course the power of personalization and technology in this entire landscape. So these are some pertinent questions we'll try to answer in this discussion today. We have a distinguished panel of experts here, and I'm sure our conversation today will reveal some secrets behind the art and science of doing retail in India and globally. So, we want this to be a free flowing conversation. Please share your inputs actively. And now I'll request everyone to maybe take a minute and give us a quick introduction about yourselves. We can start with you, sir.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Neeraj Raheja, and I work with Raymond. I head the entire retail business for all the apparel brands, and I've been almost 7 years with the company now.
Hi, my name is Pratik. I work for House of Masaba. My main charter is to build the beauty business in House of Masaba. Before this, I have worked with various companies like P&G, Mamaearth, and Urban Clap, to name a few. Pleasure to be on the panel.
Hi, my name is Vipul. I'm the CEO of Azza Fashions. Uh, my primary role is to scale the e-commerce business. Prior to this, I've been working with various startups in India since 2010. Flipkart being the first one, so I was among the first 30 employees of Flipkart. Post that, I've worked with Ghana, and I've seen businesses 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 to 100. I've seen all sorts of business. In the middle, I've done my own startup, which I couldn't scale.
Hi everyone, my name is Anshin. I work with Purple Style Labs. So we own the brand Parnia's pop-up shop. So I know you very well, and we are in the luxury business, and we run online and as well as stores. So thank you for inviting on this panel, and hope to learn a lot from all of you.
Hi, my name is Harsh. I'm one of the founders of a company called Find. We build technology for brands and retailers to unify their offline and online sales channels. We work with close to about 400 brands across multiple categories. Roughly about 40% of India's fashion lifestyle brands use Find as their omni-channel partner for both online as well as offline stores. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Gokul. I'm the COO at Papa Don't Preach. My core role is to be able to expand the brand and take it to an exponential level. I've been with them for the last 2.5 odd years and hoping to take it to the next level. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shikha. I'm the founder of the Bay Club. The Bay Club is a new online shopping destination, and we curate a selection of brands from all around the world and make them easily accessible for the Indian consumers. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Almona Bhatia. Lovely to be back on the ET panel. This format is so, sort of intimate, and you really meet and exchange ideas with colleagues from the industry. So I don't miss the chance to be here. I've been with Tata Click for the last 3 years now, and my role is to build strategic partnerships and grow the business.
Hi everyone, good evening. I'm Vivek. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Being Human Clothing. Been with this brand for about a year now. Prior to that, I've worked at Raymond, Arvind, US Polo Association, Brands I've worked on are Converse, Colorplus, relaunched Flying Machine in India, launched US Polo. Uh, I was born in Levi's, and that's been my journey, about 22, 23 odd years.
Hi, I'm Sujata. I'm the founder of a brand called Suta. Suta is an artisanal lifestyle brand, and the main reason why I quit my corporate career and started this is because we wanted to work with artisans across India. So we work with 17,000 weavers and craftsmen. And it's been 7 years. We have 7 stores, and we're an online platform primarily. Yeah, thank you.
All right. It's great to get to be here with each of you, and I'm really grateful for you all being here. I'm Drew Mossbarger. I'm the VP of Product and Engineering at vSense, which is really a conversion optimization company that's around computer vision and recommendations and search. I've been working in the search and recommendations industry for, well, I feel like I'm an age myself, but over 20 years doing that. From the likes of Nike to Amazon to Wayfair, which is the largest home goods retailer in the United States. And now I'm here at vSense and excited to talk to you guys and hear from you about all the exciting things that you're doing.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for the introductions. Before we start our discussion, I'll now request Drew to give us a bird's eye view of what's happening globally in the fashion retail space and some trends and interesting insights he'd like to share with us.
So here's the obligatory list of some of the logos, examples that we work with across the world. And we're obviously working with some of the most well-known brands there are. And why are they working with us? Because we really help bridge the divide between traditional commerce and kind of the modern social media driven shopper. I think I mentioned this earlier, but today's shoppers spend almost 2.5 hours a day on the internet. And in India, it's some of the highest consumption of social media in the world. At about 40% of that time is in social media. And this has really changed how customers are being inspired and finding the products that they want to buy. And in this space, generative AI is a game changer. We can now do things that we couldn't even dream of a few years ago. And so some of that I'd like to talk through in ways that we're really bringing generative AI to bear to amplify consumer engagement, reduce operational costs, and help power increased conversion. So to start with, in our See.Style.Shop, So right now, vSense is powering about 3 billion visual search queries a year. 80% of those are coming from India. We're seeing the highest adoption here of anywhere. We have lots of customers around the world that are using visual search, but it has taken off in India like it has nowhere else. And I think there's a lot of reasons behind that, but some of this is just the social media engagement and how much easier it is to convey your ideas or what you're looking for through an image than trying to figure out how to express that through words. And fashion is a uniquely visual commerce category, right? Customers are, they're taking these visual inspirations that they're finding and using those to visually shop on platforms. And with the power of generative search and browse, now any image can be an inspiration for searching through your catalog. Not only images that customers find externally, but even your own images on the site, to use those to shop. If you think about traditional browsing, you're shopping categorically, maybe you're refining by color, but it's really hard to shop by style, shop by images that you find interesting. Well, now through visual search, you really can browse a catalog and follow a thread, follow a theme of things that you like, and not just the things that have been curated for you. This is just a quick kind of visual example of being able to start with an image. We identify what's in that image, and now you can browse by products that are closest in the catalog that match that. You can even refine by concept, different things about that image or product that you would, particular ones that you saw, and you can continue to refine down. So here's an example of doing brand. I'll go here. And here's some new stuff that we're doing around being able to take your catalog imagery and make it into not just your product PDPs, but your actual imagery, and make those shoppable and turn them into a feed that now, and this is giving a little tutorial to the customer on how to interact with it. You'll see as we get through the tutorial, now they just, like in social media, can swipe through your content, dismiss products that they're not interested in, but this allows you to collect valuable, personalizable signals about things that your customers like, so that you can better cater the feeds of products and introduce them to new content as it becomes available. On the style front, hold on just a second. So social media is training our customers to expect experiences that are personalized to them. And I think luxury retail has a huge opportunity to better engage your customers with richly personalized experiences. And outfit buying, as an example, is a daunting task. If you think about the steps that you have to go through in order, one, operationally to support it, on the back end, taking inspirational images and being able to tag those to the relevant product and make those shoppable is, for many of our customers that were, before they started working with us, trying to do it manually, could only get to a small percentage of coverage across their catalog, but then maintaining it becomes a huge problem because as different elements within that go out of stock, now it leads to a poor experience for the customer where only portions of the outfit, where now through visual search and visual tech, we can take all the operational overhead out of that and automate that process, and also be able to backfill for products that are out of, different components are out of stock, bring the most relevant pieces in to still make it a good buying experience. Here, I'll show you an example of our outfit builder. So this is an onboarding experience that's allowing the customer, it's equating them in allowing them to pick what category do they want to shop, then can pick items that they already have from the catalog as the start of their inspiration, and then can go through and indicate styles that they like or are interested in to customize the buying experience for them, and even hone it down to the brands that they like so they can create a curated feed of products that they're interested in. So here's an example of, so this flow can change and be customized based on what makes sense for your business, but really allows now, sorry, it went by too fast, but for the consumer to go in and find the start of an inspiration of the various pieces, and then, be it through visual similarity, actually customize that outfit and pick different components and optimize for those. Then shop. So on average, customers, even though they're spending 2.5 hours a day on the internet and 40% of that time in social media, they only spend about 10 minutes on a consumer site, right? So you have a very short window to make sure you capture and engage. And critical to that is making sure that you're giving the right message and the right engagement at the right time. And so a lot of what we've invested in is building experiences that are bringing the right engagement. An example is we have a shop the look. In the shop the look experience, the ideal location for that is you found a top or you found a piece of the outfit that you want to buy. The ideal time then is what we would call a post add to cart experience. When you have found that item, you add it to cart. Immediately then we take you into an experience that allows the rest of that outfit or complementary items to be part of that shopping journey, and even bringing in size availability there. And I'm going to show you a demo of this after, that really takes the friction out of completing a whole outfit purchase. Where in traditional commerce with recommendations that fall below the fold, you may see, oh, hey, here's the rest of the outfit, but you've got to add one item to cart, then navigate back, hope you get the same recommendations, go to the PDP of the next page, is your size even there, right? And then add it. So I'll show you an example here of what we're doing. So here there's a top, they've added it to cart. Now we've brought the recommendations of the rest of the outfit up into the bottom slider. Then on each of those items, they can click in, they can see the size availability for that item, and right from here, add it to cart. And you'll see it adds it to the rest of the basket so they can, and it's removed from the bottom rest of the recommendations. So this is just one example of thinking about how do you make seamless, friction reducing experiences for the customer that make it much easier, right, to complete that mission of building an outfit. So it's a rapidly evolving landscape of technology with generative AI disrupting almost every avenue that we can think of, not only in commerce, but in all businesses. But if we apply that well, there's a real opportunity to bring transformational change to how your customers shop and engage with your product. And we at VSense are really proud to be on the forefront of that revolution and journey, and look forward to the opportunity to talk to each of you about how we may be able to serve you in those needs. And certainly looking forward to hearing from the rest of you about the great things that you're doing. And thanks again for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Drew. Interesting innovations and interesting insights on the India market as well. I'd like to start with our discussion now. And to begin with, I want to start with you, Vivek. And if you look at Being Human, the brand started offline, and you're very actively going omni-channel. And from being only a metro brand, you're very rapidly expanding across tier 2 and beyond markets. So you're expanding length and breadth. As a brand which is trying to capture so much insights across the India market, what are some key trends and innovations which you believe are shaping the recent future of fashion retail that we are currently seeing?
So, firstly, I would want to say that there was a few years back this conception that all of us had that there's an India and there's a Bharat, right? And when I say Bharat, I don't mean Bharat in the current context of political drama that's going on. I genuinely mean there was India 1, India 2 at a point in time. And when I say it really was, because today I see no difference in the way the consumer behaves in a Delhi and a Bangalore and a Bombay or Hyderabad to the way a consumer shops today in Haldwani and Saharanpur or anywhere else. So one of the key things that we have learned is that with the fact that internet is so cheap in India, the fact that there's so much time that's spent in social, there's so much time that's spent by consumer, and especially younger consumer that I deal with people who are 16 to 30, maybe going up to 35. That's the core group that we deal with in our brand. Today, they don't differentiate. So I can't differentiate between the youth as much. There could be basket size that could change between a Saharanpur and a Bombay. And that too is, if you ask me frankly, that's going away. When we started our journey, and to be very, very frank, the digital journey for our brand was very limited earlier. We were present on ourbrand.com, which was very small revenue, and we were on Myntra, which was one portal. About a year back, we moved away from being a single portal and a single brand.com business to multiple portals. And I must say that this is one place where we've seen very, very rapid change. In exactly 4 months' time, we were present on every single portal. And within 3 months of being present on every single portal, all my stores were live on every single portal. So, and Harsh is sitting here. He did a lot of work in making sure that happens. And today, the way consumer shops is, somebody sitting in Lucknow places an order, and they get the delivery the very next day from a store right there, which is 3 kilometers away from their residence. So that's one very, very big thing, and it may sound very simple, but it's a big thing for a brand like ours, or most of the small box retailers which are around in India and fashion. And when I say fashion, brands that Neeraj represents or the brands that I represent, it's one reality that people about 3 years back or 4 years back would wait for 5 days for the garment to be delivered. Today they don't want to. If you take too long before you have delivered, your order is cancelled. So that's one reality that you have to deal with, and which is where omni-channel really becomes a very, very important piece. Second thing is, if you are a retailer which has got physical stores, your stores are only functioning for 1/3 of the time that you're paying the rent for. Right? Sorry, Drew, there's a community called Marwadis in India. I'm quite a Marwadi at heart. Marwadis are the business communities. I'm at my heart, I'm quite a Marwadi. 1/3 of the time being active, 2/3 of the time you're paying rent for the same space. You've deployed your capex, you've deployed your stock, you've employed people. You're paying them for 24 hours. Omnichannel has made the stores productive throughout the day. Yeah. So every single store is live. Your back of the house, which is possibly the place where you may not necessarily keep your current season merchandise, which is to be sent back to the warehouse, and if it is lying there for 7 days before it is picked up, those 7 days it is selling. And that's, if you ask me frankly, when we started this journey, and when I say about myself, in fact, at that point in time, Harsh had started his earlier company, which was about creating ensembles in the stores. We used to have these screens, and we were trying to do what you're doing right now online very seamlessly in a very, very sketchy manner. And then the next innovation that came was omnichannel. I was a part of another organization then. When we started the journey at that point in time, the first hurdle was not the consumer. The first hurdle was your own team. Because your store manager said, if I sell it to an online order, what will I sell to my own customer who walks in? Little did they realize that everything that is available in the store is not getting sold every single day. From there to today, when a store, despite multiple difficulties that they face related to returns and so on and so forth, today every single store is very, very happy and excited every morning to open their till and look at the number of orders they've generated last night. And by the time it is afternoon, they're all packed and shipped out. So that's additional revenue. Not just that, it is also helping me sell inventory that would have otherwise not sold. It is also helping me sell inventory which could be not so great a seller in a certain geography, but could be a better seller somewhere else. It's making my inventory sweat harder. Consumers are adopting it. Today, we are looking at multiple things. We are talking about buying online and picking at stores. We are talking about buy online and return at store. And every time there's a return at store that's getting action, trust me, it is an additional customer who's walked into your store. They come to return one piece. They never go back buying just the replacement, right? So the way I see it, this entire omnichannel piece is about building more and more efficiency. Second thing which I have seen slowly happening in past few months is the entire storytelling of your brand. Today, if you ask me frankly, in India, we as an industry are still scratching the surface of e-commerce and omnichannel. We've just used it for convenience. We haven't really gotten on the entire journey of storytelling. Brands like ours, we don't exist to make the promoter of the brand any richer. The guy is anyways very, very rich, right? We exist because we serve a purpose. Now that purpose is what is going to drive higher consumption, and hence the ability to drive more things for the charity that we do, for what we do for the farmers, for what we do for the underprivileged sections of the society, for what we do for ecology, and so on and so forth, right? Now, this is another piece that I'm seeing opening up, and I'm preempting this, but in less than 3 weeks from now, you'll see something that's happening on my site, my store, and some of the partner portals, which will unify a beautiful storytelling that we are doing with farmers in India. So, if you ask me frankly, there is no India 1, India 2. That's one learning. There is one country that we have. Consumers are very, very aware of what's happening everywhere. If I'm giving them something in form of a technology, service, or a product, if it is not solving a problem for them, they aren't going to look at it. They will never adopt it. The last thing is that out of whatever consumer conversations I've had, whatever little trials we have made and went back to the consumers and checked, storytelling is one piece which is still to be unearthed. And storytelling is not just about a certain product that I'm selling. Storytelling is about something which is deeper, which is going to engage the consumer with the brand for a much, much longer term. Yeah. So
Thank you so much for the insights, Vivek, and storytelling, and of course, blurring of lines between across geographies in the country. Harsh, I want to come to you. You work with a lot of retailers, right? And as Vivek highlighted, the factors that cheaper internet today, penetration of smartphones, right? With all of these factors, mobile commerce really emerged as a very significant channel of shopping for consumers. Based on your interactions with retailers, how do you see the the traction which comes for retailers on mobile as a channel? And secondly, what is the ideal strategy for a retailer to offer a seamless experience across the country, not limited to only metros, but for a new to e-commerce, new to internet customer which is coming up?
So I think what has happened, thanks to Geo's connectivity and the cost of data being so low, I think we're seeing a significant explosion in the number of people who are now looking to do multiple activities that they would usually do while on a mobile phone. Um, 15 years ago, when phones came, they were a utility device, and now I think it's an entertainment, shopping, time pass. Everything is now into one, right? Which also means that they've now been exposed to a very wide range of experiences of consumer products, across OTT platforms, communication platforms, and the expectation of quality and the expectation of a good user experience is there across all income segments and across all stratas. So where you could get away by being just a catalog web page, also doing shipping of your products, I think that has moved towards an expectation of A, you knowing me, B, you communicating what you want to communicate to me, and C, you giving me the experience that I deserve, want, and expect. They've been used to the larger e-commerce platforms being very good at serving a good customer experience, both from a browsing perspective as well as a transaction perspective. And now you expect everyone to do the same. I think they're less likely to forgive a new company just because they're new, and hence not be as slick as a company that's about 10 years old. The advantage that these companies have is technology has also evolved very well. You've got platforms that allow you to get up to speed very, very easily. I think there's never been a time where it's supremely cheap for you to start your own e-commerce portal, right? And the barriers to entry are just so low that you will be judged if you have a shoddy customer experience online. So we're seeing that even for new companies that are looking to start their own websites, I think the bar of performance is very, very high. You expect the expectation of hygiene has gone up a lot, and hence any company, any retailer that is now starting a separate channel, you need to ensure that you have a fairly good customer experience, even if it is on day one. They're not going to give you another chance because of the fact that you're also present, or they can also shop across so many other channels, both online and offline. Number two, going back to what Vivek said, is the customer has experienced you and your brand in multiple ways across multiple formats, and they expect the consistency of their experience to come across every single channel that you're now selling through. So you can't go and say, oh, by the way, my loyalty program is only for my stores, it's not on my website. Right? You can't go back and say that, hey, I have this collection only for my store, but not for my web store. Right? I'm only going to give you a discount on my website, but not on my store. I think those experiences and those expectations have now gone much beyond that. They expect you to be true to your brand and to the customer, irrespective of what format the customer is with you on. And that, I think, is where we're seeing a lot more emphasis happening today. I think ever since e-commerce started as a way to liquidate old season merchandise, right? Where you still said, I'm going to make the most amount of margin in my stores. I'm going to go try and end of season sale period for 2 months after that. If it doesn't sell, I'll probably try and push it through trade channels. If it doesn't work out, then I'll go online and I'll get whatever pennies on the dollar I can get for it. Of course, there's a floor price below which I won't follow, or at some point, even that goes for a toss. But I think now today e-commerce has become yet another channel. I think we've seen that happen in the last few years itself. I think COVID accelerated that because stores were shut, so there was nothing you can do about it, right? But I think now we're seeing that the stores and the website are just the same experience for a customer, no matter where the customer is coming to you from. So what we're now seeing is brands invest a lot in ensuring that there is consistency of experience and consistency of your deliverables to the customer, no matter what channel that they come to. Everything from an omni-channel perspective that Vivek mentioned is now going into almost like a unified commerce piece that we're seeing, where if I'm online, I should be able to see what all I've bought in the store, and maybe even initiate the return from online, even though I've bought something from a store, right? And vice versa. If I'm in the store, I should be able to say that, listen, sir or ma'am, you've abandoned something in your cart online. We have this product in the store right now. Do you want to just try it out and see if you want to buy something here? So bringing or carrying that customer journey across multiple sales channels, I think that's where we're seeing more investment coming in now.
Okay, wonderful, great insights. I want to come to you, Anshin, and understand that as a luxury brand, how do you read into the mobile commerce as a channel for you? And as Vivek highlighted the importance of brand storytelling, right? How does this channel perform for you in terms of telling your story? Because for a luxury brand, that becomes a really important tick, checkbox to be ticked for a customer and for a retailer.
Uh, so in our case, actually, mobile shopping experience played a very vital role for us initially. Like we acquired Parnias. We didn't used to own Parnias. We acquired it in 2018, and back then the website was not in a very good shape. And the first challenge that we had was to optimize the website from a mobile point of view, because since we are in the luxury fashion, a lot of product discovery actually happens through the social media channels only. All the brands, all the designers, because we primarily work with Indian designers, they used to post their collections on their social media pages. So the discovery used to happen through Instagram, Facebook, and at that point of time, our website was not responsive, like when we acquired it. So the first challenge that we had was to optimize that experience, so that when a user when they are coming from social media platform onto our website, and we all know how social media platforms are, they have that stickiness. They make it such that the user spends a lot of time, and from there, if they are landing onto a website which is not optimized, the difference in the user experience used to be such, like we had tremendous bounce rates. So the first thing that we did when we acquired it was to fix the mobile shopping experience, and slowly and gradually we moved on to the improving the product discovery and all those bit. The one thing that we focused on was the metrics towards which we were working in terms of improving our experiences. So monitoring that the bounce rates are going down, monitoring that people are spending more time onto the technology that we had built. So the approach was that since it was mobile first, we could have gone to the native mobile application version. But since we were in the luxury segment, and at that point of time it was more driven, Gokul would know that it was more occasion driven. So no one would want to have an application where they have to show up after 3 months. So that didn't make sense. So we used a progressive web app and all those things, to make sure that even if they are coming from a social media platform onto the browser website itself, they are getting an experience of a native application. So mobile shopping experience, for us, working on that actually was a boon in those days, and we were able to scale our business like almost 100% year-on-year growth, just by the virtue of improving the mobile shopping experience.
Thank you for that. I want to get the perspective of a marketplace here, Almona, and if you can give a bird's eye view on how have you seen the overall product discovery space evolve in the recent years?
Thank you. So first, I must just say that I've come from a very rich experience in publishing. My entire career has been in publishing. So when Vivek and others have talked about storytelling, that's the heart at which we've got to take e-commerce, which is now pretty grown up in India. We finished experimenting. We've even seen through COVID the good times. So essentially, Tata Click Luxury now is 7 years old, and we've seen through lots and lots of changes, iterations, innovations, personalization right in the center of everything, right? We've tried regionalizing, gender mapping, all sorts of ways to get to know our customer better. But I think what's really our big differentiation today, particularly on luxury, has been building a community in this commerce journey, of this e-commerce journey. And in that, I mean, everything, including from our navigation, search, and our design, is all about how are we telling that story of the craftsmanship of the fashion or whatever it is. Actually, I mean, honestly, we're not selling fashion, and our apparel is, I'd guess, is not as advanced as it ought to be, at least on Click. We're focusing on accessories, we're focusing on the other categories. So we've gone horizontal for all of those, I mean, I'm sure all of you know. The whole approach is horizontal. We reach that household, and then we're, catering to the needs of fashion, watches, jewelry, beauty, home, etc. And home is a huge, huge, big surprise. It's a category that's growing faster than we can imagine. So coming back to how I think the big focus for us was to make sure that we bring that customer back again and again. And we were happy to say that we have 40% of our customers come back. So we have a huge, the loyalty piece is sort of something that we work on. We also have, we're, constantly focusing on, rather being aware that we're catering to that 1,000 cities across the country. And as I completely agree and, resonate with what Vivek says, that honestly, there's no distinction between our customers sitting in a tier 2, tier 3 town and our, top 10, 12 metros. So with that in mind, I would say that the whole effort has been to build, whether when we're talking about watches, we sort of emulate with Hodinkee, or so wherever your expertise lies, whether it's in watches or homes or handbags or accessories or sneakers, you have to build an expertise through content. So it's all about content and storytelling for each and every brand. And we've actually gone a step further and have started building. We've brought editorial in the center of our, we brought it in the center of our homepage. And we have a very, very impressive editorial team, which comes from purely being in the space of, content creation, former people from Condé Nast, Harper's, etc., who understand lifestyle content creation. And therefore, that authentic storytelling for brands. And we see that in some of the, international e-commerce luxury sites like Matches Fashion or Net-a-Porter. Editorial has to play a role. And I know that it's not as easy as, telling your the owners of e-commerce platforms that, invest in editorial. They're not going to see the returns. It doesn't make sense to them. They just want you to take the customer that's arrived to a PLP or a PDP to actually, but you can't have, a transaction will, after a point, not, it sort of, why is social commerce, playing that role and taking away some business from e-commerce now? It is going to take away a significant role. Social commerce is that sort of magnet at this current moment. And I feel, therefore, for a website or an app, a platform to remain relevant, you have to, that stickiness has to be there. And we actually now even see some of the stories that we do on our editorial pages on our app. We track those to say how much time is spent and how much what sales take place from those stories, and it's all trackable, as we all know. So we've seen, I mean, we recently sold a Piaget watch worth 13 lakhs for after a story. It was a very clever story, after, on the finale of Succession, the TV show, where it was cleverly sort of, how culture shaping content makes it attractive and relevant for our customers. So all of that plays a huge role, and I can't tell you how important that piece is to everything that we do with technology. And Drew, if I'm disappointing you by saying I'm not thinking technology is very important, it is, of course it is, but we take that for granted in e-commerce. And I just wanted to emphasize that for me, storytelling and creating content for brands with across categories is front and center of everything that we're doing at DataClick.
I think that was a very interesting input, and we do see content to commerce as a very important trend. Is it fair to take away that community building sort of converts into a higher loyal customer base into that metric?
No, absolutely. In fact, I'll give you an example. So very recently, we launched a very high value. So we've been retail selling watches. We have 140 watch brands on our platform, just on Tata Click Luxury, and we were operating at an average ASP of 15,000 to 25,000 rupee range, and that's acceptable from Titan to every fashion brand is on our platform. But we, in the true sense of getting the right luxury brands on our platform, and we realized that we have that leadership position in watches. To strengthen that, we started talking to the Richemont group, and it was almost laughable to expect a Cartier to come onto our platform, but they did after a huge amount of sort of work and negotiation. Now, to bring them onto the platform is, I mean, it's fine. They're there. We've got built a boutique, and it's a very kind of cordoned off experience for them on the platform. But we also launched, along with that, a property or a community for the watch aficionados called the Watch Society. And we started creating real serious watch content for the watch buyers on our platform, and they get a newsletter. So we have it's a push, I mean, there's a newsletter, there's a periodic some master classes, and variety of different things that we do, but it's community building, and it's so important to do that for categories that you believe you want to focus on. You can't be everywhere. And so I think it's very important to figure out where you want to be and build that community. But community building in e-commerce is the only way you can kind of lead and sort of talk to them. And I also am very keen to hear how Shikha is going to build this Bay Club, because it sounds very exciting. Nobody's really focused on building that Gen Z spot for, at least in the luxury space. I've been very tempted to follow that space. So hoping that she's going to help answer some of those questions.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Sujata, I want to come to you and understand your brand is very focused, and your audience is very targeted, right? In such a niche spot that you function in, how are your customers discovering you? How are your customers discovering your products? And if you can also touch upon the entire community building aspect, because I believe that also sits at the center of your brand journey.
Yeah, I was just loving the discussion here. And to build a brand, I think it just takes everything, right? Storytelling to actually making the tech work. Because in my head, I want the stories to work and people to come in. And if I'm unable to give that experience at the end of the day, it just like falls flat. And I get both of it because I'm just struggling to make sure the technology works. I've just gotten ERP implemented, so I know the nightmare that we are facing. But yeah, so how I think the basic thing I would talk about is that customer needs to be bombarded with the USP of that product. So I don't know how you want to USP not just in, it could be a story, it could be the weaver story that we have, it could be maybe the product is so soft or the product is absolutely durable, it could be anything, but that message needs to go to the customers. And I feel in this scenario, UGC plays such an important role. Customers need to talk about your brand. I think nothing else would be more valuable. You can have n number of ambassadors talking about the brand or wearing it, doing airport looks and everything, but if a customer is wearing it and telling that, oh, I love this, that's it, that's the end goal, I feel. And once that's up there, so we are at Suta, we do a lot of storytelling, and every product has a name on our page. Every product has a story, a different story. So a sari would be called Charulata, and why it's called Charulata, we talk about it. And a person, I know 5 customers, Charulatas, who have the sari. So I'm saying that's the power of how you can, you can mold the product into thinking that it's made for them. And if that one customer wears it and tells their neighbors and on a party that, oh, I'm wearing a suta, that's it, that's job done, right? And I feel when we are doing a story of somebody who's talking about it, that product should be available. And that's the task of technology when it comes back to you. If the person is wearing a charulata, if I'm not named it, I've just said, hey, you're looking very stunning, would that person be able to go back and search it on my page? I don't know, right? So that's what technology, that's when it comes in. And in every product we have, so whenever you open a PDP, there's a video playing of the reel that we have made for the product, or in the bottom I have all the customers who've written about it with their photographs. These are ways to make sure that you're convincing the customer to buy, but at the same time you have to think so hard that when a customer is coming to your page and is looking for a sari that maybe Madhuri Dixit has worn in a movie, the Suta sari, they're able to find it right then and there, and that's what we need, right? So there's a lot of SEO that comes into picture, and I know SEO is such a done and dusted word, but I think all of us work so hard to make sure that it is like, it just cracks, you just crack it right. If you are looking for it on your page, or you just Google it, Madhuri Dixit Suta, it should just pop up. So that's how important it is that, that when you're doing a nice storytelling and building all of that software aspect, and people are not seeing that, in the back end the tech should be that strong to take that, that a purchase should happen at the end. That's the shop feature on Instagram, when somebody wore, you could just tag everything on the product and, oh, it was there, it's rolled back. But if something like that, right, it's so important that tech is nicely merged with it. And what we do is that on our search, you type Madhuri Dixit, that sari will come, and we have done that. We have done tagging for that. But I would really love it that if somebody could upload a photo and that pops up, that'll be amazing, right? So yeah, there are and I love this presentation, because and I'm listening to all of you talking about how you can pick up things from the store, and it becomes so much easier when every point where the customer is visiting, they get the similar experience. You can call the call center and ask, that the answer should be the same. You should visit on a website, you should type and you should get the answer. Google it, you should get the answer. That's how it should be, that seamless it is. We try to be there with a lot of push, but I feel the answer is technology. You can't have 10 people sitting and typing things. It has to happen on its own. That's when tech comes in picture. So we are far away, but we're trying our best to do it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that, Sujata. Neeraj, I want to understand from you. So Raymond is has been an offline heavy brand, right? You went online and you started catering your customers via that format. But your customer base was also very offline heavy. I mean, almost everyone is familiar with the Raymond store, right? So when your customer went online, how did they change? How did their process of discovering a product in an online Raymond store change?
So, there are two Raymond worlds that we're talking about here. The one part is the predominant apparel part that we know about, the brands Park Avenue, Color Plus, Parks, or for that matter, even Ethnics. I think the journey for some of our apparel brands was very similar to what other people did. People like Harsh helped us make them go online. But I've been hearing to all of you, listening to all of you, and I think very, very similar sentiments. Uh, I'm a very firm believer that the foundation of e-commerce was India was laid very, very incorrect. It was not laid on convenience; it was laid on price. And when I say price, I mean discount. So, that's where we have spoiled the customer. Sasta, if you go online, means you're getting a price advantage. While, now people have started recognizing the fact that, there is convenience, or probably, for the want of a better word, guilt-free shopping. I can probably order 5 items, try, and what I don't like, I can return it. So second part is also very, very important, that in a business like ours, which is very, very old, very traditional, probably one of the largest retailers in India, spanning, more than 1,000 stores. Uh, the one very, very important piece that everybody today is trying to struggle, or probably trying to get right, which Harsh also pointed out, is a single view of a customer. So today, companies are, except for D2C brands, which are a single channel retail, probably have your own channel of stores and you have your own D2C website. Probably that's the only brands that have a complete 360 degree view of the customer, what they're doing, what they're buying, what are their habits. And therefore, it becomes easier for those brands. For, conventional brands like us, which are so widely distributed, our customers are buying from our own stores. Our customers buying from the LFS counters, which is a shop stop, probably a lifestyle. They're buying from formats like the Raymond shop that you mentioned. They are also buying goods from the MBOs that are present in the country today. Now, who does this customer belong to? Now, today, if I went to Almona and told her that, can you give me some data about my customers? She'd say, they're my customers. A Tata Click would say they are my customers. A Shopper Stop would say they're my customers. So getting a single view of the customer is very, very important. And that's where brands will now start, investing money to understand. Because unless you have that data, what are you going to personalize? What shopping habits are you going to get right? Now, except for in a case where, what Vivek mentioned, that our stores can now work 24/7. Now, that's so much easier because that data belongs to you. You can understand who's coming, who's not coming. Probably a customer who came into the store, I didn't have a size, you offered him a size. Now those things become very, very easier. But that's just part of the data. A hell lot of a data is actually sitting outside your own domain with other people. It could be Tata Click, it could be Myntra, it could be Amazon, it could be Flipkart. Probably you'll only come to know what's sold. But to whom was it sold? Why was it sold? Was it price? Was it convenience? These things become very, very difficult. The second challenge that Raymond is trying to solve. So, to answer your first question, our journey for our apparel brands have been very, very similar to all the other brands. It started by listing your products online in marketplaces like Tata Click. In the earlier days, it was even Paytm, Snapdeals, Mintras, Amazons, Flipkarts. To a point wherein people started understanding that omni-channel, again a very, very loosely used word in India. What use cases we have been able to really, really establish. Harsh can probably throw some more light on it. It's basically save the sale. That's what largely people have been able to exploit at this point in time. So that's how the journey started. I think pre-COVID, people jumped onto the bandwagon of omni-channel, whereby they said, okay, fine, yeah, it's a great concept from a commerce perspective. What Vivek said, if a store is only open for 8 hours, why can't I make it work for 24 hours and 7 days a week? Which means that if people are coming to maybe marketplaces or to my own website, probably I can serve them as well. Or if a customer is coming in my store and probably not finding something, I can get it for him from any other store. But the point is today, given the large amount of investments that are being made in marketplaces, when you talk about, say, maybe a Click, maybe an Amazon, maybe a Myntra, how far will a brand go in investing in its own D2C platform is another question that people will grapple with. Because the yardsticks of performance are very, very different. They're chasing valuation, retailers are chasing EBITDA. So very, very two different worlds. Very, very different worlds. And the other point, people say app bana lo, website bana lo. I think that's the most easiest thing to do. Today, technology is, one, customer is spoiled for choice. Second, for all the hard work that has happened in the technology space today, I think almost anything is available off the shelf. You want to pick up something, it's much, I think that's lesser of a problem. The bigger problem is what sense will you make out of it. So today, even if you ask me, most of the discovery is happening where? I don't think discoveries are happening more on brand websites. I think they are happening on social today. Product discoveries are happening on maybe a Facebook, maybe an Instagram, maybe a Google search ad. Probably maybe you're just going and typing something on Amazon. So some of these terms, influencer, influenced, these never existed, right? So your app or your website is actually the end. It is not the means. The means are very different. So therefore, everybody is talking about how do you build storytelling, how do you get some of those pieces together, so that when a customer gets inspired, he actually then lands on to your ultimate platform. Now that could be a store, that could be a LFS, that could be your own website, or that could be your own app. So I think that's where the real link is. And again, I'm telling you that the larger challenges with brands like us will be how much would you spend or rather invest in creating your own platforms vis-a-vis continuing to sell and expose your product on some of the other platforms like marketplaces. So it's a very, very tricky trade-off. Very, very tricky.
As a brand, are you working towards sort of interconnecting all the multiple, channels that you're present
Yes,
on?
yes. So we're trying to build a single view of the customer at the back. Uh, but having said which, probably even then you would be only able to cover the channels that are in your direct control, not channels which are out of your control. So that again still remains a challenge. The other big challenge that continues to remain unsolved, and probably the day we solve it, we'll hit a jackpot, is how do you actually take fabric online?
Okay.
So today,
Yeah.
your fabric is not online,
Hmm.
and that's a very, very large and a very, very profitable business. So today, if a customer wants to get something stitched, he actually has to walk into a raiment shop, select his fabric, and therefore give his measurements and get stitched. So once we solve that barrier of him being able to select a fabric online, probably get his measurements done at home through some technology, I think that will be a huge, huge win. But as of now, that is not solvable.
Got it. Great. Thank you so much for that, Neeraj. Shikha, I want to come to you and get a perspective on the changing cohort of consumers that's coming in. So Gen Zs are emerging as some serious shoppers today, right? They're not just a new word that we have been using. They are emerging as a big cohort of consumers for some of the marketplaces actually, right? How do you see them shopping? How are they different from how people were shopping earlier, right? If you can highlight some trends on this consumer cohort.
Thank you for inviting me. And it was such a insightful information that I was getting and wonderful conversation. Coming back to your question, I feel like Gen Z is our target market and they are full of surprises, including me being a Gen Z. I understand that we have lived in a digital world and we have access 24/7 to information and digital resources, and that has made the consumer quite knowledgeable and self reliant in deciding what products they like and the brands they want to support. And the changes that I have observed in a Gen Z is that they look for a seamless shopping experience. They look for instant gratification and quick deliveries. They look for product personalization in shopping experience that could curate their uh, and tailor to their personal needs and their wants. And also a wide assortment of products that they can choose from and then decide what exactly are they wanting to purchase. And the influence, I feel the Gen Z's influence on product discovery is characterized by the digital first approach. I agree with a lot of you guys by like digital campaigns and social media campaigns and storytelling has played a very important role in product discovery. However, for me, currently, right now, I feel like influencers are playing quite an important role. They really love to co create with the brand, they like to communicate a story. And also, celebrities are playing a major role to bring credibility, to bring in awareness, and discover my products.
Great, thank you. Pratik, I want to just building on what Shikha said. As a mass premium brand, there's a big cohort of aspirational consumers in India, which are everyday upgrading to try out products of mass premium brands like yours, right? One, how do you see the role of social media influencers, celebrities in this aspect? And second, as a brand, how are you gearing up to cater to this set of consumers so that they are able to discover you?
I think so. My perspective will be a bit of so I've spent half of my career in a traditional brick and mortar setup like a Procter and Gamble, and the balance half in startups in the beauty space primarily. Some things haven't changed, while some things have. What hasn't changed, as Vivek highlighted earlier, was the reason a brand should exist. Consumers continue to buy into brand propositions. It could be a functional proposition, it could be an emotional one. For a Masaba brand, it could be the designs, the uniqueness, or the earnestness into it. So, proposition is core to why consumers are buying a brand, be it tier 1, tier 2, India 1, India 2, doesn't matter. But some of the things I'm also learning and has changed over the time is primarily the entire path to purchase, the discovery, and hence the brand's go-to market has had to adapt from a time and point where your efforts were pretty much top of the funnel. You run a large YouTube reach and frequency campaign to build awareness, consideration, and then you hope that it will convert at some point of time into a trial, which also measurability was a little bit of a challenge. I now live in a world where I'm seeing way better data when it comes to the way business can be run. So for me, technology has now become a way of life. For me, a Shopify store is technology. For me, the ability to change a PDP product landing page myself, I'm not an engineer, but I think I can change it if I see that step of the funnel is to be broken, right? So for me, that's tech. Coming to your point on the behavioral change, I think some of you have already spoken about it. One big change I foresee is uh, the people that are being listened to, the influencers. Starting from the top influencers, I see this sort of emergence of nano, micro, smaller influencer cohorts who are actually able to drive revenue for brands. I say this a lot. At one point of time, influencer marketing used to be more of a top of the funnel lever, and in our business reviews we would ask how many videos you did this month. For me now, it's a revenue channel. Some of it is tracked directly via a coupon code or some mode of redemption. The other is, if you have a good owned store, you can track the entire funnel via Google Analytics. So we are able to understand which influencers, which cohorts are getting us revenue, which are getting us traffic, or rather, building consideration, which are just purely doing awareness. And we may have to arrive at a mix for the brand. So what I'm trying to say is social plus influencer slash UGC is now become all interconnected. And marketeers or business heads or CEOs have to sort of adapt to this new reality. That's one thing I'm noticing. Second, a lot has been said about the pros and cons of performance marketing versus brand marketing. What I've come to realize, it's they are one and the same thing. A consumer seeing a creative doesn't know it's a performance marketing creative. It's a brand creative. Now it happens to have a shop now and a click and whatever. A brand creative may just have a explore now button. So making it very just explore friendly. But the point is, again, young brands in 0 to 1 journey have to figure out the right mix of how do you sort of what percentage spends you allocate to performance, how much you allocate to brand, because it's a tricky situation. You have to keep your lights on, and hence sales are important. Yet you need to sort of continuously build awareness for future consumers or people who may not be aware of you today or considering you today, but consider you in future. So efforts like influencer marketing help us do both to a large extent. So that's the second thing. Third, I'm noticing is the emergence of new platforms. We used to talk about WhatsApp and Instagram. Now I see Telegram, for example. I see there are groups where there are these Telegram influencers who are running game nights who are running activities and they're endorsing products. And there are huge amount of followers there who actually are not just getting aware but also sort of purchasing products. And this is I'm seeing in tier 2 as well, and beyond. So for me, like I said, it's a evolving journey. How do we catch up with such consumers? We have to stay ahead of the trend. The trends die fast, they come fast, they die fast. So yeah, for me, that's what I think new brands and any brand now has to sort of adapt to the new realities of influencer, performance marketing, social. What is social now going forward? What's going to happen? 1 year down, none of us know. So I think that's what my learnings has been. One thing I just thought I'll share with the group on consumer centricity that I've learned from all my founders and bosses is when we launch something new, uh, we do the CX ourselves for a couple of months, which means talking to consumers who have purchased the product myself and making it a habit, at least for the core team and as many people as possible. That has helped us even iterate on product. We have gone back and changed formulation. If we get a lot of negative feedback about a certain formula or effects on the skin, I think that is something which a lot more people should start doing. You will know exactly why they bought into you. It will help you sharpen your value proposition. You will also know whether repeat will come or not, whether they are going to recommend your brand. Doing it firsthand as a CEO, as a leader, as a founder, I think that's the best thing. So, I mean, just thought of sharing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Prateek. Vipul, I want to get your insights also on this. As a luxury label, how do you see your customer base coming in from social media? If you can share some insights on that. And also, how do you replicate an offline experience of a luxury store in an online setting? How does that process look like? And what has been Aza Fashions doing on this front?
Sure. A lot has been covered, so I'll ensure that I don't sound repetitive. For a luxury platform like ours, see, a lot of consumer journeys today start outside the platform. Like most of you have covered that. So, but I think one of the key challenges or that we uh, strive to solve is how do you integrate those journeys that start outside the platform more seamlessly with a journey that ends on the platform and eventually to the bottom of the funnel, right? So I think I was earlier discussing with Drew also that our category is very visual, and most of the journeys for us start on visual platforms, visual first platforms like Instagram, Pinterest, and even WhatsApp, for example, where people just share anything and everything, right? So uh, how do you integrate those visual journeys that start on these platforms and bring the consumer eventually on your platform? So I think we spend a lot of time, tech, non-tech, both, to ensure that we try to integrate those journeys, which eventually help us drive more conversions, primarily because it's a very, very visual category, so, and that is one that we do. And from a offline to online standpoint, I mean, there are very, very specific elements which are specific to our category, so we spend a lot of time there. So for example, the luxury category that we focus on, it's not a 1 day shipping, 2 day shipping kind of a category. It's mostly made to wear category, so people are willing to wait from anywhere from 2 weeks to 8 weeks to get their product. So, and there's a lot of customization involved, and there are a lot of conversations that happen before the actual purchase. So some of those flows we translate into a more seamless online journey, because it's not like it cannot be tactile every time in an online ecosystem, but it's very tactile offline because you are doing touch and feel in an offline. But so if your consumer is coming online, how do you replicate those workflows uh, which are you know which are in a normal scenario very touchy feely, right? I mean, where you're used to speaking to a consumer, used to speaking to an expert. So how can you replicate those online without investing too much in human power, because that's not scalable beyond a point, right? So those are the areas where we invest a lot of effort. It has actually yielded a lot of results for us in the past 7-8 months. We have translated a lot of offline workflows into online, and we have seen them drive conversions. Being the global business that we are, obviously the consumer outside India is a lot more evolved than the consumer inside India. When I say that, for example, a consumer inside India does not know what his measurements are, because we are used to having that access to a tailor or a maid so easily. But consumers outside India, they know their measurements to the T. Like, they know every detail of their measurements, so they are very okay with placing a customized outfit order, and they want to go through that detailed workflow. But Indian consumers, they just don't know their measurements. So for them to know their measurements, I think someone briefly touched upon it, is like, for them, you have to enable it through tech. People who don't know their measurements, you have to enable it through tech, so that they give what the basic measurements are, which could be like the bust, waist, height. But beyond that, you do a virtual try on and then predict the rest of the measurements. So we invest a lot of time, effort there. We have invested some effort there in the past few months. We are seeing some outcomes there, but I think that technology is still nascent, particularly in the occasion wear, ethnic wear category that we are in. That while Google and others have tried to break it through AI for the utility fashion wear category, but it's not there yet for our category. So I think those flows will become very, very important for the luxury designer wear category, which is made to order. Uh, People know that they want to wait. They're okay. I mean, in our case, so for what we have seen in our case is like 7-day shipping is as good as a 24-hour shipping. For them, it's ready to ship. So, and if someone's buying like a lehenga worth $3,000, he or she is willing to wait, and in the same breath, he or she would like to experience it as much as they can through technology on a virtual platform, uh, which would replicate or as closely as possible their offline experience, where you are going to a store, our fashion consultant is actually helping you try. uh, they actually spend a few hours before they make a purchase decision in our stores, right? So how do you replicate those behaviors online? uh, some of it is through tech, some of it is through assisted buying, which is more human intervention. But I think time has come that we start solving these things through tech. Some of the technologies that we have explored in the past few months, they are not very scalable at the moment, because earlier it was metaverse, now it is generative AI. People use the terms what they want, but it's like some of these technologies are not scalable at the moment, because I'm a platform, right? I'm not the owner of the brand in every context, right? So brands are my ecosystem partners. So I don't have as much access or control over the visuals or the images that I receive like the owner of the brand, right? So if a technology comes and says that give me a 3D view of every product that you show on your platform for me to enable virtual try on, so that's not scalable stuff for me. Or if the commercials are structured like I need $10 every product to enable virtual try on, so those commercials won't scale, right? So we are yet to see those technologies emerge. I mean, at least scalable from a platform standpoint and also from a commercial standpoint. So I think these are the key areas which will enable to simulate more and more offline luxury buying into online. uh, Apart from whatever has been said about content and consumer journey starting outside the platform, and how do you integrate them into your journeys and all that. So this is, I mean, these are a few areas that we have been investing a lot of our efforts in the past few months, and some of them have already started yielding results. And we work with a lot of ecosystem partners around that. And I think uh, the enablers who do that will, and I think that will help consumers both in India and outside India to, make luxury buying more and more seamless.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Vipul. And I think that was a very realistic outlook here. Gokul, I want to come to you and just extend to what Vipul was also sharing. As a as a retailer, when you what are the key roadblocks or challenges you see when you try to incorporate newer forms of product discovery, by which your customer can come on board. These could be via social media or via smart search or image search, as Sujata was sharing earlier. What are the key challenges as a retailer that you face today?
Firstly, apologies for keeping everyone waiting and delaying this conversation. Uh, there are two things. One thing that you asked about was the the platforms that you're using in terms of technology for vision search or other things. I feel potentially it could be a game changer, but I feel it's still at a very nascent stage for us. Picture this now. You mentioned, Drew, that a lot of people in India spend a lot of time on the internet, on social media, right? uh, if you go on Instagram right now, you'll see a lot of images of celebrities getting captured or papped at the airport, right? If you go through the comments under that post, a lot of those comments are from a lot of people asking, what is she wearing? What bag is she carrying? What brand of shoes is she wearing? Right? If you want to convert this into a search online, right? You can't really type what is Deepika Padukone wearing, what blue bag is she carrying at the airport on the 26th of September. It becomes very difficult to get a match or a hit on that search, right? Against that, if you talk about something where you can just very easily take a screenshot of that image from Instagram and post it on your visual search, you get your answers immediately, right? It's a win-win for the brand, it's a win-win for the customer. For the brand, it's an indirect marketing because they've not really paid for this, right? But the customer is still on their website or on their app, right? For the customer, it's much more easier because you are not dependent on someone responding to your comment on that Instagram post. You can just picture, take that picture and get those answers. So I feel it is going to be a game changer, but I still feel it's nascent because the entire library where all the images need to be put online for us to get an accurate match. I don't think we're there yet, right? So uh, I feel now Vipul from Aza is ahead of the curve because I saw on his website recently that you already have image search deployed, right? That's something that Anshin, we've not figured and we've not put it yet. We are just waiting for the technology to sweep us over. So there are a few people already ahead of the curve. So we want to be there. We hope that it'll help us soon, but I still feel that it'll take some time. That is the first part of it. Sorry, can you just repeat your second question?
Yeah, so I was trying to understand when customers come via social media, image, and across new technologies such as image search and more, what are the challenges that you face?
So I feel the challenge is pretty simple. When the main challenge is that the customer does not end up on our website, right? So on an image search on any of those platforms, the main challenge is that we as a brand, as Papa Don't Preach, we experience a lot of people copying our products, right? So it's very prevalent in the market. So what we sell for example, $3,000 is available as a first copy for about $500, which is one sixth the price, right? So when the customer's on our website already, if they're searching using an image software or a service, it's easier for us to navigate them to the right product. But if they're doing the same on a public platform, it becomes very easy for them to get diverted onto that $500 product. So for us, that is a main challenge, bringing them onto the platform.
Great. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for this. I want to understand from you, Anshin, in in an online luxury retail space, how does one replicate the personalized experience that we get in a retail store, in a luxury retail store offline, right? Is there any interesting strategy that you're working on, or any piece of technology that you're tracking which you believe could be a game changer in this space?
uh, to be honest, there's no way so far that we have figured out to replicate the offline experience online, particularly because of the segment that we are into. So imagine that if there is a store of our kinds where we are primarily dealing with occasion wear, that too for brides. And these are not like, I'm not trying to be insensitive here, but these are the brides of the families which come from like they feel themselves as princess for that matter. So when they come to the store, right, we make sure that they get that kind of experience, that they're buying that outfit for their special day, right? There is no way that I can imagine replicating that exact experience online. The closest that we have been able to come, which again, like Vipul mentioned, is constrained by the scalability factor. The closest that we have been able to come is to arrange a video call. And like if the bride is sitting maybe not in India, where India we have covered almost all the cities, so even from a smaller town, people can travel to these bigger like metro cities, and they can experience that. But we have a lot of clientele in US. And during COVID, when India was in the lockdown, but the other countries, they were not experiencing that. At that point of time, we picked up a lot in terms of online because of this particular factor. We arranged video calls, we had the products. Another element of omni channel, that since we had the products, we were able to arrange video calls, and then we capitalized on it a lot. But so far there is nothing, at least for our industry, there is nothing that can replicate the offline experience online. Again, how Neeraj said that fabric can't be experienced online.
Especially in the category, it's a very considered purchase, and then it's not just the guy who's or the girl who's deciding. There are 10 other people around who are stakeholders in that decision making.
Exactly.
कौन सा रंग होगा, क्या cut होगा, so there's a lot of involvement. So even in an ethnic stores, you'll see when people come to buy, it's like the entire family sitting there, and the poor guy has to try maybe almost like 10-20 garments, and then has to take a point of view from everybody, what works and what doesn't. So yeah, it's a very involved, very very high involvement category.
Okay. Vivek, I want to get your thoughts here. As an omni-channel brand, has there been any successful personalization strategies that have really worked for your brand that you can share?
So, okay, let me begin here. That what are the number of problems that you're going to use tech to solve? And and that's a real thing, because it's a great boardroom conversation that I will do digital transformation in 20 different things. Reality is that it stays in the PowerPoint. It doesn't really get to the ground. If you ask me frankly, personalization, at least the bit that I'm trying to solve right now, is what Harsh also spoke about. I can't solve for one unified experience across every single channel I sell in. At this point in time, as we speak, I'm in the journey of solving one unified experience between my brand stores and my brand.com. Okay. If I can do that today, and that's a step 2 for me, to be fair and frank and honest about it. My step 1 was to be able to build consumer cohorts with my offline stores. Personalization, if you ask me frankly, the way we are approaching is very different. We aren't approaching it from a perspective of being able to create a very, very real, unique to you experience, like it is imperative in case of many of my friends who are selling luxury products. In our case, I'm personalizing to a cohort. Now, if you are someone who are in a certain geography, have shown affinity of buying product segment A, B, and C together, I look at whatever data of yours that's available with me without crossing a line that we do not want to cross. While India, the data privacy is still very grey, that it's going to get clamped down at a point in time, right? So might as well keep your expectations very, very real there. What we're doing is we're saying that, okay, hey, you know what? These are my, so there's a 12 by 12 matrix that we have. So we've got 144 cells. And that would mean that 144 kind of consumer and consumption matrix combination. And if you ask me frankly, have I succeeded at 144? It is still a journey. It is still a journey. initially we started with tech, which was not really that great. We are in process of upgrading that, bringing machine learning in there to be able to sort of automate campaigns, so that if you're someone who likes to buy jeans from me, I don't necessarily have to show you everything else. I will just show you the categories which are closer affinity with your kind of geography, consumer segment data that I have, age, size, whatever that I have out of your consumption from my stores, right? At this point in time, I'm trying to integrate that with my brand.com. And I see personalization happen only to that extent in the near future for businesses like us. And that's something that, in fact, would be a hurdle that will have to be crossed. And it may be a few years from now that all of us will have, and when I say all of us, the entire ecosystem of retail in India will have the courage to be able to put the information out in open and say, hey, you know what, Shoppers Stop won't say this is my customer. And because at the end of the day, the same guy is buying from Shoppers, is buying from Lifestyle, is buying from a multi-brand store, is buying on Myntra, is buying on mybrand.com and my website. So there will be a point in time, hopefully, and there are initiatives in place which will sort of integrate all of that data together, and that will probably be the first step when the personalization gets to its execution in the true form. As of now, personalization is to cohorts, and that's the best you can do.
Okay, very, very interesting there. Almona, I want to get your thoughts here. As a marketplace, do you see how do you see the impact of offering personalized recommendations to your customers on your conversion rate and on the churn rate?
Yeah, so I agree. There are 4, 5 operational things that we have done which will help us in personalization. So whether it's payment sequence, price cohorts, regional personalization, and including search relevance. I think the most important one was to sort of ward off the sort of fake shoppers. So I think conversions do improve if you kind of fix those 4, 5 things. But I agree with Vivek; those are hygiene pieces in personalization. The way I'm looking at personalization, or others I'm sure will agree, will be really how are we getting to curate, or how are we really solving a problem and easing, like what everyone is saying here. How are we trying to solve that customer? How are we giving that luxury experience online, which we're unable to, I mean, beyond a point, right? I mean, those videos and trying to get onto a call and trying to do customization and each one is left to, and we've seen so many different examples from brands like the Collective, who tried in lockdown to do a variety of different very, like, I was very impressed with how they were doing, for instance, video calls with their customers, etc. So there are degrees at which you can do it, but that's all manual and not scalable. So again, I would stick to what we can solve with machine learning in these 4, 5 different areas, which help conversion rate. So conversion rate go up by like at least 0.2 to 0.5%, and which is great. If we can fix that, I think we've made a great, sort of, there is great progress, at least in the marketplace like ours, because that's a huge sort of pivot.
Okay,
I hope that
okay.
answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. Sujata, I want to come to you. And as a young brand, what is the challenge in terms of offering personalized recommendations to your customer, or not just recommendation, a holistic personalized experience? What are the key challenges that you face today and you sort of seek solution for?
Okay, so I think you guys have answered it already. It's literally a black box for me. I'm an IT engineer, I understand logics, everything, keep it aside. But when they tell me that these Shopify plugins come to me and say, hey, I'll see, look at the customer, I'll give you exactly what they want, and I'll give you like the sari, this blouse matches, this is what the other sari she wants to buy. I don't think it works. I really don't know what they give me, all these fancy terms, all the logic in place, that if they are buying this kind of customer buys this and this and this and this. I don't know whether that's happening. I don't see the logic. I don't know what logic are they putting, because I myself, unless I'm standing with the customer and asking what the customer is wearing it for, what occasion, I don't think I can do that. So I don't really know whether they're solving it, but I have it on my page, which is trying to push that. You said that under the fold somewhere they're saying that, okay, if you like, if you're buying this, people like you have also like this and this. And then I have, of course, put like, I've added things myself saying that, okay, you can also gift wrap, you can also do pre-draping the sari, I'll stitch it for you and send, by trying to add the cart size. But I think that's the thing, right? We want to add the cart value, and we do it ourselves, but I don't think the recommendation anybody goes down. If I shop myself, I don't go to the website saying you will also like this. I literally don't like what they're showing. I don't want that, honestly. Sometimes functional products you can still do. I don't know fashion, how you're going to solve it. It's very, very difficult. But I'm sure, I love AI, I love the term AI, but I really don't understand it. That how it's going to understand the mood, the psyche. I don't know whether regional, cohorts buy in the similar fashion. I am not sure about that. At most, what I do is that I know, I really trust, I really value people. I think people are going to solve this. So I have calls, chat, on video call, anything. I'm there for you. They call me, I suggest them. That's the best. I think that's what I'm doing. And clearly, it's not scalable. But I would love a solution where they're actually telling me the logic. And
What are retailers saying in this perspective? What are the biggest challenges they face today with with offering a personalized experience?
See, I think most of the retailers are usually a single category or very narrow category retailers, and hence the frequency of purchase of the customer with their brand is twice or thrice a year, not more than that. Also, because of the paucity of that vast or deep data on the consumer, it's very difficult to personalize at a customer level. There are a bunch of in-session personalization that happens. So which means that for your session that's going on right now, because I've understood what you've seen right now, or in the last, whatever, 5 minutes, I can probably help you do things slightly better. So things around visual similarity of products, because when I know that if a customer's gone scrolled to the bottom of the product display page without taking any action of either a like or an add to cart, there is some intent of the overall style, but not that specific product. So can I show you something different there? It's not a personalization to an extent, but it's still trying to help you in your journey for that particular session that's happening. I think a few things that we're now looking to do with brands is, see, again, online for most brands is probably 15% of their business. Even within that, their own brand's website is probably about 5%, 7% of the business. Right? So you can't base a lot of your insights on a 7-8% sample size of your overall population. That's where merging of the offline and the online data sets actually play a huge role, because the moment you start understanding cohorts of the offline space, which no one's ever done, right? People have usually done cohorts online. Offline cohorts are usually done from a communication or a campaign perspective, not really understanding, anything else that's happening. But if you can start merging that data and use that to drive your online recommendations also, I think that becomes very, very powerful. So we're seeing some work happening on the unification of that, and a lot of work happening for an in-session personalization. Marketplaces, on the other hand, can do a lot more because of the fact that they have so many categories, and hence your frequency of purchase with the marketplace is probably once in a month. If it is non-fashion and if it's multi-category marketplace, it's probably once a week that's happening. So you can do a lot more there online. But for a single brand, I think you're today stuck at a lot of in-session as opposed to it being on a personal customer basis.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that, Harsh. And now, before we wrap up, I have one final question that I'd like to get a closing comment on. I'd like to start with you, Neeraj. What is the one takeaway from our discussion here today?
I think what is two things that I think are very, very important also from what was discussed today. One is, I think, how do you stay true? Or in fact, what Prateek mentioned. What's your reason for existence? How do you connect with your customer? Very, very important. Hasn't changed and probably will never change. And second, most important is, I don't think it's so much about online or offline. I think it's about how do you have a single view of the customer, because it's the same customer who's buying across channels.
Prateek.
Yeah, I think for me, one big takeaway has been how while the entire industry is probably grappling on technology and it's a burning problem, but we need to keep our eye out for it. There may not be a perfect solution. There may not be a way to replicate your personalized experience, but maybe a something will happen in that space, maybe a avatar version or something which can be scaled. But I think we can't. What happens is many a times in our day-to-day P&L job, or chasing numbers, as we say, we sort of tend to say this is not going to be possible. But basis the way you all were talking with examples, I feel uh, I'll at least be keeping my eyes more open to what technology can do to improve my funnels in tier 1 as well as tier 2.
For me, the key takeaway would be uh, hearing everyone, I can see that there are still a lot of inefficiencies in various consumer journeys, be it personalization, be it omni-channel, or uh, you know content, whatever we talked about. And I think for me, wherever there's an inefficiency, there is an opportunity. And how we solve it, be it through tech or non-tech, I think that's a very context-driven solution. There's no one answer. What works for me may not work for being human, or may not work for utility fashion, or what works for them may not work for me, right? So each one needs to understand their data points and what their consumer is telling them. And uh, I think there's still a lot of opportunity to be solved. Given I could see a lot of cynical comments as well, or borderline cynicism around personalization, recommendation, or omni-channel. So I think it tells that there's still a lot of inefficiency and people don't believe in the power of solving them. So that's where the opportunity lies. So I think that's the key takeaway for me, like how there's still a lot of opportunity to be solved in these areas.
So a key takeaway for me from today's conversation would be like Vipul also said that technology, when it gets developed, it is developed for uh, like a generic problem statement for that matter. But in the end, you need to identify how that particular technology is going to be used for your kind of product line that you are offering. For our kind of specific, when we are talking about luxury fashion, what we feel is that we have a very limited set of consumers. We are not into masses. We have to value each and every single customer that we acquire, and we need to like the LTV is very high for us as compared to any other industry. So. The products or the technical solutions that we are finding should not be focused around the business metrics for that matter. It should be focused around how that will add value to the customer experience, because once you add value to the customer experience, that customer will eventually come back to you just by the virtue of that experience that you have offered. So that is something that we would be looking into for all the technical products and solutions which are coming out over there. Thanks.
I think my takeaway would be, we spend so much time creating and crafting a consumer experience on our own channels. We forget that a large chunk actually starts interacting with our brands off our platforms. And so, how do you build that bridge between off platform and on platform, so that the customer doesn't feel like, these are two very distinct parts of the shopping journey, but almost like a seamless one. So I think the integration of off platform and on platform, I think that would be my big takeaway in this.
I think my takeaway is ignorance is bliss, except for when it comes to technology. Uh, so there are a lot of offerings that are available for every feature that is launched. So for one brand, it'll be 10 out of 10 features are useful. For others, it'll be 1 out of 10. For others, it'll be 3 out of 10. But I don't think there's a scenario when it's going to be 0 out of 10, right? So even if it's at 1 out of 10, you're always moving forward, right? So you always have to keep up with the trends, pick up whatever the best practices are from different softwares, different features that are available, and make your experience the best. Like he also mentioned, if you start chasing numbers from all of these softwares or all of these features that are being offered, you can't really match it to the actual revenue that is coming in. So as long as your focus remains on the customer experience, what these offerings are going to, how these offerings are going to help us improve the customer experience, the numbers eventually come into the picture. So I think that's my takeaway. Thank you.
My learning would be to just be transparent and honest and be true to yourself and your brand. I feel like, yes, trends are evolving with time. You need to evolve, but you also need to know your main purpose, why you've launched the brand, why have you done this, and for who have you done this. Stick to your consumer, stick to what your consumer really want, and that's what the Bake Club's all about. We are trying to fill a gap in the market by bringing in clothes that are exactly what a young Gen Z would like to wear, the hottest and the trendiest trends that are available in the international market. That is what we are trying to bring in. So I just believe that, yes, learn from everyone, but just be true to yourself and just do what works for yourself and your brand. Thank you.
I think this was a very realistic conversation. And I would just, go back saying we just prioritize, don't feel the FOMO. There are thousands of things. It's all passing by so quickly. Just stay focused on your one or two things and just do that really, really well. And eventually something will come out of that, and then move to the next thing when someone else has learned from their mistakes.
Hi, can't agree more with you, Almona. I think for me it is choose the battles. Choose the battles wisely, the ones that you can solve for now. The other thing which is very, very important is what is it that you're doing which is direct to revenue right now, and what are the things that you're doing which is more from a perspective of engagement and storytelling. If we do a cross tab of 2x2, we know which ones to take today, which ones to kick the can down the road maybe for another day.
On similar lines, I think it's just come to an end. So I feel don't lose focus on your customers. I think what they really want. Do they really want a recommendation, or they want a friend to just shop with? Just figure out what they really want. So like what he said, in session personalization, Harsh mentioned, I'll look up and I'll go figure out if we are doing that, and I'm not sure. And I'm honestly going to figure out, I want to fix my omni channel, and that's a very big takeaway. I think there's a lot that can be done. And it's not long that we have opened our store, just April we started. So yeah, this fixing omni-channel is something that I really want. And omni-channel should not be used lightly. It's so much you can do. And there is no end literally to just make everything seamless. And it's a beautiful journey, and just take it slow and keep thinking about what do the customer want, because you will want to put everything for them because there's so much happening, right? Do they really want it? Do you want to put in that money to solve something that they really don't see much value in? I can figure it out. You can just put probably two people sitting and talking might help. You don't need so much of personalization. I don't know. So figure it out. Thank you.
Well, this has been super insightful. I've enjoyed getting to hear kind of everyone's broad perspective and experiences in this journey. Going back to something, Neeraj, that you were saying, reflecting, it resonates well with me and my experience at Nike, where at my time at Nike, they made the strategic decision to really pursue what they called the direct-to-consumer offense, because they realized no one could sell Nikes as well as Nike could sell Nikes. No one was obsessed with Nikes the way Nike was obsessed with Nikes. And they decided having a premium brand experience where they weren't going to discount. They were really going to put the best foot forward. And the success they had in that and how that resonated with the customers meant they could really start to wind back from their other channels. But there's still channels they maintained, but they got to be choosy about what were the right channels for us. But it was so important recognizing the wealth of data that was there. If they could own that customer experience, how they could better own their product pipeline and the signals that they would get, better direct interactions with their customers, right? So there, it's like you as luxury brands in particular, like you have your relation to your customer is so important, right? And being able to invest in a platform that allows you to to stay as close as possible, really, and own as much of that journey as possible. It doesn't mean you don't use other channels per se, but that you really are building out a strong enough channel that you are getting those signals so you could pass it on to the other channels, because you're building a wealth of that connection and depth to that. And I've heard, and I'd say the other key to hold on to is nuance. I can hardly count the number of times that I've gone into a situation saying, well, have you tried this? Oh yeah, we've tried that and it failed. And I ask, okay, well, why did it fail? Well, we don't know, it just didn't work. And nuance is key here, to know, why did this thing not work? Was it an implementation detail? Was it a customer experience flaw in how it was implemented? I mean, where we're helping lots of customers around the world implement visual search, recommendations, we see such a variety of implementations, and it becomes pretty clear that it's not necessarily that it's not more universally applicable. It's how it was applied often is a big impactor in whether or not it was successful. And in that, make sure you're finding the right partners that you're able to talk to. Also, find comparators, right? Adjacents that you can work close with, that you see it working for, where you can share information, right? That's been hugely valuable for me at Nike. Of all people, I don't know if you guys have heard of Home Depot, but it's like a huge, right? Of all people, we partnered with them a bunch and shared information because, hey, we didn't compete, but we saw, hey, from when we were thinking of BOPUS and buy online, pick up in store, they were killing it in doing that. So, and we were doing things well, so we found opportunities to share. So these kind of networks are super, super valuable. So I'd, definitely encourage that. But we can say, hey, we've seen a lot of traction in bringing tech to helping solve personalization, where you're and I'd agree, if you try to personalize with your eyes closed, describing a product, right, it is really hard to get a good recommendation. But if I can see the product and I'm creating collaborative recommendations where you're actually telling me what you like and don't like, right? And I'm not trying to do collaborative where I'm just saying, well, someone else liked it, right? But really starting to take the signals off of that, then it can really change the game. But all that said, I wish you guys all the best of luck. I think you're doing great things. It's exciting to see what's just happening here across India and how commerce is taking off in some really neat ways. And I look forward to seeing where it keeps going and the chances to partner with some of you on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us today for this discussion. We have dinner and cocktails waiting for us. So without further ado, let's move towards the drinks. If you all can just wait for a minute, we'll get a group photo done here. We'll get a group photo.